All right, we are live, Linz. I think.
Hi, guys. Welcome back. We are so sorry that we were not here last week. We were all having health issues. Dan was dying. I was dying. We were all dying.
Maybe dying.
Maybe dying. I can still hear the music, though.
To be oh shoot. Well, that you could help out here.
I could.
So for those that have missed us, we are live on TikTok now. We're gonna try it.
We're gonna try
I'm gonna put the over under at 20 minutes before we get banned. Okay. Because I think last time.
Although I promised that I would behave this time.
So they're already loading up on TikTok, so they must have missed us. So yeah, we're gonna give it a try, folks. We don't know how it's gonna go. For those that don't know, TikTok has changed hands effective last Friday, Thursday, something like that.
Yeah.
And it has been one complete cluster. But I also heard through the grapevine, through some of my IT friends, that it's actually not TikTok, it's Oracle servers that are having a problem. And it's affecting TikTok. And I know Canva's partially down, and Filmora is partially down, which is what I use for editing. So whether they run an Oracle or not, I don't know, but that's that. So we got a really good topic today, but I thought I didn't even mention this to Lindsay. We got to do an update on something, Linz.
We do.
DoorDash girl.
Oh,
so I forgot to mention that to you when we were off air. So DoorDash girl had her next appearance this past week. It was not televised. It was not covered by the media, but a YouTuber went, and forgive me, I don't remember his name, and sat in the courtroom, and basically my guess is she's effed. So what happened was, it was in city court. That was where it was set up originally. They are moving it to county court. Now, that doesn't sound like a big deal to a lot of people. That's a big deal. All right. City court handles small cases, for example, fines under 25,000 in New York. There's a bunch of New York law with this. All right. Moving it to county court means the two primary felonies she's charged with are really in play now. So my gut feeling way back when we were first talking about it was she would probably get probation and maybe a fine or something like that. We talked about that on air. I think they're going to make an example of her. So I was suspecting there was going to be a plea bargain here and now, and be done with it. So it is moving forward. How long that'll take, I haven't heard of another appearance date set yet. Houston over on YouTube just said it should be moved to Superior Court. That wouldn't be the case in New York. It would go through the county court first. Eventually it could make its way there, but it should be interesting. I think she's going to get more than a slap on her wrist.
I hope so.
She needs it. I mean, we need it as a lot of people do, right? I mean, what she did was awful. And apparently that Ring camera video that everybody said, well, is it or isn't it? Apparently it exists. They haven't shown it yet, but word is, and again, this is from that YouTuber that went there. Word is it does show her pushing the door open, which shock of shocks to me because I saw the original video too. That has since been taken down. So it does also, though, by the way, confirm, which I've said before, there was never any evidence she actually set foot in the house. And apparently it confirms she didn't do that. So anyway, that was a quick update. I wanted to get you that because I knew Lindsay would enjoy that one. Doesn't Lindsay look cute today? You look adorable today. And I say that as your quasi-father.
I'm wearing a house coat. Although to be fair, my tea gown / house coat is probably nicer than what most women walk around.
Because I saw you when you were coming, you were moving around. I saw it looks like a dress on you. So anyway, let's get to the main topic of discussion.
This one's my fault, guys. So if
It is all your fault.
If any of you follow me on Facebook, this was a post of mine that I had last week that kind of blew up. And 99% of the people who read it were all women, and they got very, very angry with me, and they missed the point. As I was telling Dan, not only did they miss the point by such a wide margin that if they had been captaining the Titanic, you would have arrived in New York early. That's how much they missed the point. So, can we throw up the graphic real quick?
Yes, boss. Hold on. I got to do it in a couple places.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! Wait a minute. I got to do it over on TikTok so they know what the hell we're talking about. There. All right. Talk.
Oh, wait. So I made the mistake of using logic and math on the internet, which was my first problem. But basically, I had a post that was talking about how the cultural perception that women always have is that men are not doing their fair share and that women are doing all of this work and men aren't pulling their weight and women are bending over backwards. It's a 24-hour thing, blah, blah, blah. We're all the trenches in Normandy and guys just slack off. So I put up this graphic that shows what it actually looks like if you have 80 hours of work needed to run a household. That's both financial paid labor and domestic labor to run a household. You split it down the middle for total work hours, and that's what it ends up looking like, what is actually fair.
Okay.
And then I said, this is what she calls fair, but still oftentimes she's still saying he's not pulling his weight. But total work hours, he's doing more than she is. So the whole post was about perception versus reality. And I threw in some research too from Pew Research Center and from from the Department of Labor and the Department of Bureau of Labor Statistics, showing that when you take everything into account, you take in paid hours, household hours, childcare, all of it. Turns out that men and women are putting in the same amount of work. In fact, you can argue that men are actually putting in a little bit more, 54 hours to women's 53 hours. So the amount of work that men and women are putting into the households is about even. And yet the cultural belief is that men don't do shit and that women are doing everything and all of that stuff. And then 800 comments later, and guess what? Everyone in the comment section proved my damn point. And they all got stuck on the math. You wouldn't believe how many people didn't understand that this was like formulaic. They're like, well, that's not how it works in my household, therefore it's wrong. So change the numbers. It's aggregate data. Change the numbers. It would still work. The logic is sound regardless of the numbers. They're just variables. Change them. And oh my freaking God. And I'm like,
well, I mean, it goes to what we've often talked about, which is that women do not give men credit for doing anything.
Exactly.
At all. It's in their minds, it's 100% them, 0 him every single time. And they want to wallow in that victimhood. And when you, God forbid, show actual proof to the otherwise, they lose their freaking minds. Right. And I remember when this first popped up, I totally got it. I saw what you were doing, but I know you too. You were stirring the pot a little, let's be honest. just a smidge. But to your point about the numbers, I don't think there probably is very, very few households that would fit these numbers exactly, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but that's what they got hung up on. Well, that's not my house, so therefore the whole graphic is wrong and your whole premise is wrong. And that's what it's that everything's got to be black and white. There can be no gray. Well, like you said, change some of the numbers around. But when you look at things, and then the other side of this is, and the question I have for you with this graphic is the part that says homework, right, which is in the green. How are they defining homework?
Well, see, that's what I was talking about. I said that it's a very simplified graphic. So if you were to really take all of the, if you were really to take all of the variables, you wouldn't be able to simplify it. So I used a very simple graph. But we ran into this problem, and I ran into this problem quite a lot, and it spawned another post and another video that's coming out, I think, as soon as I can get Filmora up. It's that everyone goes, okay, well, now take childcare. Take childcare and put it into the women's side. And the thing is that wait for it. It was not the men that was saying this. It was not the men that were saying this. It was all the women saying that they do all the childcare. And I'm like, but childcare is a responsibility, not a chore. And here's the fun part. There's two sides to childcare, because there's the nurturing side, which everyone loves to claim, that looks mother shaped. And then there's the financial side, because that child needs a roof over their head, they need food on the table, they need clothes on their back, and all of that costs money. So we ignore the financial contribution, which is also childcare, and we only count the nurturing side. And I went to war with women in the comments because they're like, well, that's besides the point. I go, no, that's exactly the point. See, I'm being good.
You're being good, because and we're doing pretty well on TikTok. I'm actually surprised.
But that's exactly the point. Is they're sitting there saying, well, childcare is part of, domestic. No, not really. It's a shared responsibility of both parents. But again, there's the nurturing side, bath time, but who supplied the water for the bath? Who supplied the bathtub? Who supplied the house that the bathroom is in? Like, who's paying for all of that? That's childcare too. We know that's childcare because that's all that the divorced single moms want is money, and they're calling that childcare. So but all of the women were sitting there saying, well, that's part of our, our domestic side. I was like, okay, well, what about all the other stuff? What about the maintenance to the home? What about the auto maintenance? What about, lawn maintenance? What of all of that? That doesn't count. And then we had all of the women who are sitting there also saying, well, it's like a 24-hour thing. I'm like, no, it's not. I do your damn job, first of all. And it is not 24/7, unless you are counting just existing in a house with children as active labor. You do not get to count the time that the dishwasher is washing, that the washing machine is washing, that the dryer is drying. You can count vacuuming if you're actually vacuuming, but if you have one of those Roomba things, you don't get to count that either. Like, you can only count active labor. And trust me, if you're doing that much work, you're doing it wrong.
Well, I've often talked when I was a stay-at-home for however many months, it was a little over a year. I had everything done by 10 a.m. every day, and the house was freaking immaculate, right? And we weren't ordering DoorDash because it didn't exist back then. They were all home-cooked meals. I did 98% of the cooking while I was home. And I've often said, and they hate me for this, easiest time of my life, most fun, most enjoyable, least stressed. And I was doing it with 6 kids, not 1 or 2. Sorry, ladies. And they always come back at me with, well, she must have been doing the work. You just, no, I did it all. And she would be the first to tell you that, right? She used to actually get mad at me for not leaving her stuff to do, right? The only thing I didn't do was fold her laundry. I washed it, dried it, but she didn't like the way I folded it. Well, okay, fold your own damn laundry then, and not that we ever fought about it. That was the agreement we had. By the way, it's the same one I have with my current wife. I do not do her laundry. She does not do mine. I don't like the way she does it. She doesn't like the way I do it. Okay, we each do our own laundry. Never a problem. But they get so upset about it. And the reason I asked you, what are they counting as homework, is it goes into what you were talking about. Pushing a button on a dishwasher takes 15 seconds? That's getting up off the couch, setting down the phone with TikTok, getting up off the couch, walking over, pushing the damn button, walking back down, loading it and unloading it. Child, please. I unloaded the dishwasher this morning in about 4 minutes. I mean, that's all it took me. So you're not spending hours doing dishes. You're not spending hours doing laundry. You're not, cooking. You're not cooking a Thanksgiving dinner every day. Most people are taking, dino nuggies and fries and tossing them in an air fryer. That ain't that hard. And that's the point behind all of it, right? They want to count every minute of that. But then they'll argue, well, mowing the lawn doesn't count. You only do that once a week. I do dishes every day. But yet, if it takes him 2 hours to mow the lawn, that's double the time it takes you to do the laundry each week.
Well, yeah, that's why I went with total work hours, like time and work, rather than the individual tasks. And my whole point, like I said, it was about perception, a perception versus reality. So women have the perception that they are doing all this and the men are doing nothing. But when you look at total work hours, total contributions to the home, in most cases, he's doing more than you. And They didn't like that, predictably, because they would engage with anything other than the actual freaking point. And it got down to the point where, like, again, they're sitting there just deflecting over and over and over again. And I'm sitting there going, ladies, I'm not advocating that we should be splitting exactly 50-50 where he does not do any homework. Like, he doesn't help at all. He comes home and says, that's it, I'm done, and then sits down and does nothing. What I'm arguing with is you have to acknowledge what he does do. Because right now, we as humans, but women especially, have an absolute horrible habit of not seeing what we ourselves do not do. And I used another example as I was arguing with people in my comment section, trying very hard to behave. Sometimes I succeeded and sometimes I didn't. I started getting snarkier as the comments got a little bit more dumb. But I saw it all the time as when I was a manager. So I worked in retail for like 12 years, and that's predominantly a female-dominated space. And so as a manager, I would have, like, I gave an example. I have two employees, Sarah, who's in the back unloading freight, and Patricia, who's on the floor. Patricia, who's on the floor, is dealing with customers, and she's angry that Sarah's not doing anything. But because she's on the floor dealing with customers and refolding clothes and whatnot and all that fun stuff, checking people out, all that, she doesn't notice when Sarah comes out of the back to put freight on the floor or put merchandise on the floor. And while she's out, she will absolutely deal with customers. She's not just going to say, I'm sorry, no, and go point at Patricia. No, she takes care of them. But because Patricia isn't actually actively, like, she's actively doing something else, and she's not watching Sarah like a hawk, she thinks that, well, I did all of this. So then, at the end of the day, she was like, I'm like, so how do we feel about today? She's like, well, I did all of this work and Sarah didn't do anything. I go, Sarah unpacked like 50 boxes of freight, put a whole bunch of crap on hangers, and dealt with like 18 customers. She did equivalent the same job you did. You just didn't know it because your view is narrow. I, on the other hand, am looking at the whole chessboard. Trust me, you both have equal things. And that's exactly what's happening here in so many households. The women can't see the damn forest through the trees because they got blinders on. And unless they themselves are actively doing something or actively watching their husbands do something, it doesn't exist. And that's literally the entire point of the post. And I couldn't get any woman to acknowledge that at all. Surprise, surprise.
Shocking. Take the image down and get to us. So there we go.
But shocking, I know.
Yeah, I mean, it's everything you're talking about is stuff we've talked about before. And it's, what's interesting about it too is, like, some of the people are jumping all over on, this is on TikTok. I don't know if you've got that open, but like Makisha, hope I'm saying that right, said, in what world does a woman only have 20 hours of paid work? Well, again, as Lindsay pointed out 15 minutes ago, don't get hung up on the specific numbers. The point that she's making is that essentially, and I'm narrowing it down quite a bit, it's that men don't get credit for the work they do, and women overrate the work they do, basically, right?
They double count it. But I actually got a little bit of pushback on this. So according to the Department of Labor, the majority of women who are employed part-time. There are not as
that is true. Yeah.
There are not as many full-time women as there are part-time women.
It's a significant difference between part-time men and part-time women. And even full-time. You got to remember, when they count full-time, it's 30. It was 35 hours. I think they've dropped it to 30, actually. I know most corporations now consider 30 to be full-time, right? But for the sake of argument, I don't remember the exact number, but the last I looked at Department of Labor, I believe the average woman was about 36-ish hours a week overall. That's taking all women dividing hours, but men were about 10 more, give or take, right? So again, we don't want to get hung up too much on the numbers. We want to make the point here that get out of victim mode, ladies, right? You don't want to give men credit for anything they do. You discount what the actual things they do, as well as how much time they spend doing it. Arguing that men don't do any of the childcare, please, right? Come on. I talk to men all the time. They do take care of the children. They love every minute of it. They wish they had more of it. Which some couple have already made the argument. Well, if women don't like the way it is, let them go work full time, and the guys stay home.
Well, see, I made that point too, because I also made the point that if the graph were reversed, like if for example, it's a logic puzzle, so you can input whatever variables, the logic remains
Right.
the same. You can switch the genders. If you truly are doing more than your male partner, by all means. But I'm just as guilty as anyone, because I'm human, of not always seeing the big picture if I'm like in it, right? So my husband and I, Mr. Squirrel and I, actually came across this problem early in our marriage, especially when we first had kids. Because before we had children, I was working full time, he was working full time.
Mm-hmm.
So when we had kids, it was really easy to not see what he was doing. So I said, okay, well, fine. This is what we'll do. Because you say you're doing stuff and I say I'm doing stuff, because he didn't see what I was doing either. It was both of our problem. We started writing down everything that we did in a day. Not to like an excessive, like nitpicky degree, but just so that we could kind of keep track of it. And it turns out that we were both doing about the same amount of work. We just didn't see the other person actively doing it. And that solved our problem.
Well, it puts perspective on it, right? It's
right.
I've never had to do that with my wife, but using our marriage right now, as it stands right now, as an example, I work from home, right? She has a full-time job. Yesterday she worked 17 hours, right? It's the nature of her job. There's times she's got to do that. I did 100% of the housework yesterday. Lottie freaking da, right? She was busting her ass at work for 17 hours. She left the house at a little before 7 a.m. She didn't get home till midnight. Okay. For me to discount what she did yesterday and try and play victim mode, well, geez, I did 2 freaking loads of laundry. I emptied the dishwasher. I take care of the dog. Come on. Okay. It's not that hard. She worked much harder than I did yesterday. I give her all the credit in the world for what she did. Right. But you don't hear that in the reverse. It's, she will tell you. In fact, she said it 2 weeks ago. We were out with a couple and we were not talking about this, but the woman made it some sort of crack, and my wife said to her, Dan does 85% of the housework, which kind of made me feel good, right? Because she's giving me credit for it. But she recognizes what I do, appreciates it. But I also recognize what she does. And when she's here and does things around the house, a lot of times she's adopted what's commonly known as the male role, right? One thing that she loves to do is mow the lawn. It is her thing. Now, I love mowing the lawn too. Now, Lindsay's been here. She knows how small our lawn is. It takes about 20 minutes to mow our lawn. But
it's stamped compared to mine.
At first I had a really hard time accepting that she was going to do the lawn every week, but she loves doing it. It's a way for her to clear her mind, right? She has a very stressful job, and she'll come home because I work part-time as a strength and conditioning coach trainer, and I run a session Mondays through Thursday nights at 6 p.m. She'll come home from work and go mow the lawn while I'm doing that. More power to her, right? I'm not going to take that away from her and say, well, that doesn't count. You only do that once a week. No, she's still doing it. Often when it's, in the middle of summer here, it's 95 degrees, hazy, hot, and humid. Why would I discount that? We have to get out of this mindset, like you were talking about, creating spreadsheets in our mind, so to speak, right? And I did this and you did, and trying to come up with a number. You want to really do it, write it down and actually be honest about it. Right. I don't have my watch on. Take your watch and hit your stopwatch and see how long it takes you to unload a dishwasher. It does not take that long.
I had one guy who was trying to, most women in the comment section, and I'm.
Go ahead. No, Steve just put a comment. I'll put it up in a second.
That
was good, Steve.
I saw that.
I'm going to put it up because it's just so good. There it is. How does your wife reach the lawnmower handle? You know what?
Platform shoes.
Well, no, it's the exact opposite. We had to go get a lawnmower because ours broke not too long ago. And it's so low for me now, I have to hunch over to use it because she has it set for her. So we went and bought it. And I said, I'll go hook it up and, get the handle and I'll put it all together. She's like, no, I got it. And I'm like, oh, shit, because I knew what she was going to do. She set it for her. You know what? Good for her. If that's what makes her happy, I'm fine with it.
Well, so most women will sit there and they will overinflate what they do, the contribution that they make. And then they'll sit there and say, well, I do all of this work. It's a full-time job. No, it's not. It's I would argue that it's probably about the actual housekeeping, like the cleaning and whatnot. If you're actually maintaining, it's about 2 to 3 hours a day, depending on how big your household is, how many kids you have, how many pets you have, all of that. And then that's to maintain. And then on top of that, you can count the actual household management. So meal prep, shopping for food, like all of that. But those aren't daily tasks any more than mowing the yard is. But you can only count those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I learned how to keep house from my grandmother, who was born in 1917 and never let any of us forget it. If you really do take, if it really is a 24/7, you never sit down job, then baby girl, I hate to break it to you, but your time management skills suck and you're doing something wrong. Or you're doing that thing you do that women do where they make it harder than it has to be, where you pick up burdens or set yourself standards that nobody cares about. I had one woman sit there and say, well, did he do the baseboards? Baby, I don't do the baseboards every week. If I can't see the dust, it doesn't exist. Dust is my friend.
Yeah, like they're cleaning the baseboards every week too. Come on. Come on.
Well, then that got into what he does it wrong. And I'm like,
oh, there's it.
There's the other side is a lot of the times that, yeah, you end up doing the bulk of the household because you set a standard that it's your standard, not the household standard. Like in my house, any dish I don't have to wash, any towel I don't have to fold is a towel or dish washed and folded correctly. That's it. I don't have to do it. It's done correctly. I don't sit there and fight with my kids or my husband over loading the dishwasher correctly. The only thing I fight... I lost Dan.
No, I'm back. Hold on. Wow. We went down hard there.
On TikTok? Or
everywhere. I did. I think we're back.
So
if you can hear me, Lindsay, right?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, I'm back then. So, all right. Yeah, that was wow. That was a hiccup and a half.
But I was saying that the only time I harp on like the dishwasher is when my son is speed running through it and he's getting ready to run it with 5 things in it and the sink is full of dishes still. That's the only time I'll sit there, wait, no, slow down, do the job right. But like if my husband's doing the dishwasher, I don't look at it. One, because I have OCD. So I just
you're one of them. It's got to be loaded a certain way. I know you.
I choose to not be
the same way, Lindsay. Okay. So.
I choose to not be in the kitchen when he loads the dishwasher. I'll be there when it's clean and unloaded. But again,
see, my wife and I have the same problem. She doesn't like the way I load it. I don't like the way she loads it. You know what? Whoever loads it and pushes the button. Lottie freaking dot, right? Does it come out clean in the end? Either way we do it, it comes out clean. Right? So why are we fighting over this? Why are we nitpicking every little thing?
Because it comes down to it's about control is what it is.
About victimhood too.
It's also about victimhood because if he's doing it wrong and only you can do it right, then you get to pick up the weight. And then even when he's saying, here, give me some of the weight, give it to me. And she goes, no, my weight. And then she gets to say, why? Why does no one ever help me?
But again, all that does is create conflict, and one of the things I was talking with, it was a guy I was talking to about this, but we were having a similar conversation. And, we were talking about how, and I don't want to go too far out in the weeds on it, but we were talking about how how miserable must it be to be a woman right now? Because all y'all are so miserable. Like, you're just plain not happy
And they're
at
so
all.
not happy that they want everyone else to be unhappy
It
too.
is.
Misery loves company.
Well, yeah, but we were like talking in general. Like, we're not talking about the crazies, right? We're just talking about the average woman. They are so unhappy. And after that conversation, I started paying attention to it. Um, and it makes me appreciate my wife even more because she's not that way, and probably you as well, right? Um, they rather than take joy from something, they look for a way to shit on it every single time. And it's like, I was listening to my neighbor the other day, and I'm like, she is just going off on nothing. It was nothing. And I'm like, why would you? Why? How's that make your life better? Focus on the positive. Do I have times where I'm like, yeah, especially lately with some of the issues I've been having with my medical stuff, but I was trying to stay positive, and it just see they're so miserable. And then you look at, and I don't say this as a flex, I say it because it's sad. Half of all women right now are on SSIRs or various other antidepressant medicines. That is sad. Sad. And those are hard numbers. That's not like something somebody pulled out of their butt. They can actually track that stuff. And I don't get the logic behind it. Why would you want to live that way?
So I think there's two things going on here. So first of all, I have always noticed this. It's one of the reasons why I don't get along with women very well. One of many. But there is social clout, and women are very social creatures. There is social clout within the community of comparing my horse is bigger than your horse. Who has more misery points today, and then you get social clout from that. But I came across another article someone wrote, another post on Facebook. It was talking about it was a feminist page. I actually follow quite a few of them because I have to know what the enemy is saying so that I can counter it. So I can tell them how they're wrong. But it was talking about how women today are in survival mode because they basically have to be an actual functioning adult. So they have to go to work and they have to take care of themselves. They have to do all of this and they have to blah, 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 blah. And that's why women are in survival mode. So we can't be feminine because we're surviving. And I'm like, you mean you're being an adult? It's called being an adult. That's what you wanted.
Yeah, that's their whole argument with, I pay my bills, so I'm special. No, you're an adult.
You're an adult. And
freaking die.
So I'm sitting there thinking to myself, and I'm looking through the comments of all these women agreeing with him. So basic self-maintenance is like being in the trenches in Normandy.
Again,
no wonder y'all are miserable because y'all have taken the basic human experience, which has been true for thousands of years, and now what, you're victim of being human? No wonder the aliens won't visit us.
And they that was good. But they've also lost perspective. What is a struggle now? Oh, I have to load the dishwasher. 50 years ago, 100 years ago, you were trucking down to the river to get the water to wash your dishes, right? It didn't come out of a faucet. Well, 100 years ago. I can't say 50.
Well, that came up too in the comments. Someone was sitting there saying that running the home has always been more arduous than outside the home. And I'm look, unless wait. I gave her a history lesson.
Oh,
unless you are walking to the river for your laundry, scrubbing on the laundry board, boiling your water over the fire, and any of that. If you have electricity, you cannot claim that the household chores take that much. But even if we were to go back before pre-industrial time, lime washing the floor and doing the laundry, because I actually did go work at a Pioneer Museum for a while when I was a kid for one summer. It was a blast, by the way. Basically did to Laura Ingalls Wilder, but in real time, so 1860s. I hauled water. I got water out of a water pump and out of a well, and I did laundry the hard way, and I lye washed house. It was arduous work. However, I have also tried to fell a tree. I will take lime washing the house and the pumping of the water and the doing the laundry over logging any day.
Have you ever reaped what you've sown with an actual hand reaper? Not a combine.
Yeah,
$500,000. I mean, 3 acres.
I have not used an actual full-length scythe because I was not tall enough. I got one of the handheld ones. But I was out in the field too. And yeah, I would rather be in the house doing the laundry than having to do that for 12 hours a day. And it was not 8 hours a day. It was from sun up to sundown.
And you got a little short break to eat your supper, which was the main meal at noon. And that was about it. But I actually, similar to what you did, right? This was when I was in Boy Scouts. We went and did like a weekend of pioneer, right? And we had to cut a field down. Now it was just grass. It wasn't like weed or anything like that. But we had to do it by hand. Let me tell you. Now, mind you, at the time I was 13, I think, 12, 13. I was exhausted. I was in, phenomenal shape. I was wiped out. They did that every single day, sun up to sun down. I was doing it for a couple hours, and on these family homesteads 200 years ago, there wasn't help. It was you, the wife, and the kids, and that was it, right? And, oh, by the way, if you lived, as a serf or peasant or that, you also had to do the same for the lord of the manor. So you weren't just working for yourself. You had to give a certain number of hours to pay your rent for your plot. So you were working, you got Sundays off, but even that entitled work. But you were working 6 days a week, sun up to sundown. You want to tell me that's hard? That's easier than sweeping a dirt floor? Yeah, I don't think so. And I'm not trying to make light of what the women had to do in the home. That was hard work. I absolutely was. But hello, let's not get into who did more or what. It was for survival, right? Both people needed to do their share for them to survive. I do want to bring up, let me just change some things around. I got to switch to that image, and then I want to show Angel's comment, which is coming up, because he said women have a nasty habit of reckoning. I like that word. Everything men don't do and do wrong, but never what they do and do right. Say that 3 times fast. Then say, you're killing me, Angel. Why we should acknowledge you for something you're supposed to do. Thoughts on that, Linz?
Well, I mean, it's not necessarily that they just want recognition to, like, men want acknowledgement that, hey, I do all of this stuff. We acknowledge women left, right, and sideways. Like, society as a whole is built a altar to, the gynocentric womanhood, and we routinely, being a mother is so. See, there's a divorce lawyer, I think James Sexton or something, that he recently did.
He got in trouble.
He got in so much trouble.
Did he get in trouble?
Yeah, so much trouble.
I'm trying to get him to interview on my podcast, by the way,
because he said that being a mother is not the hardest job in the world. Now, most people did not finish that interview. I watched it all the way through. He said it is arguably the most important job, but it is not the hardest. And I agree with him.
Golf clap on that. Absolutely a golf clap on that. But again, that goes to, I think
women get acknowledged for that. Men don't get acknowledged. And even in the comment section of my post, women were sitting there saying, well, we do all the childcare, we do all of this, we do all of that. I'm like, but no, if your man is working, he is doing half the childcare, because what is that child eating? What is the child eating? What are they wearing? What is the roof over their head? What is all of this? Like, childcare is two-pronged. It is financial and it is also nurturing, but we only acknowledge childcare when it's mother-shaped, and mothers get applauded all over the place for it. Dads, however, their contribution, just like Angel said, gets completely erased. We refuse to acknowledge that financial side is even childcare, except in family court. Then suddenly that's all they want.
That's all that matters. But it's interesting, because when you think about what we're arguing, right? We're not trying to take anything away from the women at all. In fact, we're celebrating what they do, right? As you just said, motherhood is the most important job, right? So is fatherhood, by the way. But, mission critical, probably the most mission critical thing a woman can do, That's just my opinion. I give them all the credit in the world for what they do. They get mad at me for saying that. How dare you? Wait a minute. What? You're mad at me for giving women credit. Well, you're not giving them enough. Right. Because you dare to give credit to men, somehow that's taking away from women. So if you say fathers, take care of the children, or they do this, that, or whatever you want to say, in their minds, and I've had women say this, reasonable women like Lindsay, reasonable ones will admit that, well, in my mind, that takes away from what I'm doing. No, it's not a zero-sum game. That's the point, right? It's that instead of, and this is what kills relationships, instead of focusing on every nitpicky little thing he doesn't do or she doesn't do, how about we celebrate what they do? Say that 3 times fast, right?
Celebrate what they do.
Right? Because, there have been times where I was the one working 80 and 100-hour weeks, right? When I owned the gyms, when we were first starting out with them, I was working on average 100 hours a week, right? Because we didn't have employees back then. Gym was open at 5 a.m. and it closed at 9 at night. I was there the whole time and I couldn't leave, right? Because my wife was still working her job. Eventually, she was able to leave it and come work in the gyms too. But she gave me credit for it, right? She knew the amount of work I was putting in, and vice versa now, right? She's the one that works the hard hours. I'm not going to take any of that away from her. In fact, I celebrate it, right? And I'm looking at this week in particular. It's been a rough week for her. For me to say, oh, she hasn't done a goddamn thing around the house. She didn't even make the bed this morning, Lindsay. Can you believe she got out of the bed and couldn't even fold the covers over? How dare her? Just because she worked till midnight last night and had to turn around and be back in the office at 7 is no excuse. Can you imagine if I said that and meant it? I mean, I'm joking, right? No, but yet that happens to men all the time.
So another thing that we took that happened in my comment section is they were nitpicking about the amount of work. So what if they both work 40 hours? And I'm like, okay, well, what kind of work are you doing? Because there's a big freaking difference between you being indoors, comfortable, dealing with people, or being on a roof at 110-degree weathers in Texas doing HVAC, or in the, digging ditches, or any blue collar, high, labor intensive job. Like if you're both doing office work, that's a different story. But in many blue collar households, which is kind of what this graphic is talking about, a guy will do a physically laborious job and then he'll come home. And the minute he's through the door, it's, I need you to do this. I need you to do this. I had a hard day. I'm tired. And you think he's not? Like, I will grant you, you might be mentally exhausted, but he's physically and mentally exhausted. Why don't you give the man 5 minutes or an hour to just decompress, and then you can switch off? But
along those lines, let me switch, because right along those lines, unless you probably saw it, right? I don't know if it's going to come up completely on TikTok, but Steve said, Dan, do you complain if she sits down for a few minutes after getting home from work? No, I complain if she doesn't. Right? I have dinner on the table. And by the way, I work every night, right? I have a training session that I run every single night from 6 to 7. So I have to get dinner on the table and ready, because she's normally home right around the middle of that training session, 6:30 or so. So I have dinner ready before she gets home. And then we just go and eat once I'm done training. I would be pissed if she worked the hours she worked and came home and didn't sit down and take a load off for a little bit, right? It's absolutely what she should be doing. Well, and if she needs, what did you say, an hour to decompress?
Yeah.
Have at it, honey. I have zero problem with that. Never once have I had a problem with that. And it would be exact opposite, actually. And vice versa, by the way. When I was cranking hours and she was working less, we just naturally flip-flopped, right? And I would come home, dinner would be ready, and she'd say, sit down. You know, I don't drink beer or anything, but she would say, sit down, chill. More often than not, she'd bring me a mug of whatever I was drinking, normally iced tea, and we would just go about our night. And I guess that's why our marriage is so good, right? And yours is so good too, because you recognize the labor, physical, mental, emotional, any that both parties put in. That's what you're arguing and I'm arguing is, can we recognize the labor of both? Whereas most of the women don't or refuse to. Spicy wants to know if we're a couple. No.
Hard no.
She's my quotes daughter, though. She's not really biologically, but I count her as one. That's
Dan is a dad.
So call me daddy. All right.
Ew.
That would gross me out to no end.
No, we're not a couple.
Oh God, we just went down that rabbit hole. I'm waiting for the comments now.
But like, you let your wife, her sit down and take a load off. When Mr. Squirrely comes home, I typically disappear upstairs or disappear in here to my craft / library room, because I want to let him sit down, relax. He has a extremely mentally taxing job, not necessarily physically laborious, but extremely mentally laborious. I'm going to brag about my husband here for a minute. He is both in the Air Force Reserve as an instructor for the C5 platform. He also works on the civilian side, running the simulator for the exact same thing. So all of the pilots and all of the load masters, all of the flight engineers, they all run through his company. So he's, running a simulator and teaching flight engineers and sometimes pilots how not to crash a plane that could, take out a city block.
Look at the comments right now. That was good. Sometimes we get distracted. We're talking and we get distracted because we see the comments coming up on the various platforms, and some of them, you guys rock, man. Country, that was good. Don't be calling me daddy, dude. And no, you're not getting your allowance now for making that comment. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
But so, he's running a, $1 billion flight simulator, gauging all this stuff. He comes home, his brain is mush. And I'm not going to make him do anything that makes him think other than what streaming service do I want to veg out to while he decompresses. And but I mentioned this, and apparently that made me a doormat. The number of times I had my woman card revoked in my comment section, they're like, the number of times people kept accusing me of being a man, and this chart is about as accurate as your profile picture. I'm like, my woman card has been revoked. Oh no, whatever shall I do? Who will tell my husband?
Well, the problem is, I think a lot of that, Lindsay, and we've talked about that before, is pure jealousy, right? They can't manage to do what you do, right? And it's like I've said long, and this. The reason they use the phrase "pick me" is because no one will pick them, right? That's where it comes from. But it's again going back to what I was saying a few minutes ago. When you look at the two sides of the arguments that are being made here, we're saying appreciate the value of both players, right? Whereas their entire argument that they're making to you is only appreciate one side, theirs, the woman's, right? And do everything you can to denigrate the man's. You are never going to have a happy, healthy relationship thinking that way. It's not possible. I'm sorry. It's not possible. If you are living in that 24/7, which most women are, you are never going to have a happy, healthy relationship. You're incapable of it.
And I mean, that was the other half of the post. The whole, like I said, it was about perception. And I'm sitting there saying that as long as you're keeping score like that, you're going to be miserable, because you're so focused on, making sure that you have the most victim points, or that you're so focused on how, much you have to do, that you're making yourself miserable. And you're also breeding resentment where there's no need to actually. What
was that? Oh boy. Something blew up behind her. Oh, she had to go run and take it. That's never good. So anyway, while we're waiting, hey, everybody, while we're thinking of it, show us the love. I can't do the heart like Lindsay does. So give us some heart bombs, give us some love. It's we're about a little over halfway through. We're live every Wednesday from 4 to 5:30 Eastern. We are back on TikTok trying it out. I was wrong. I thought we would get banned in 20 minutes. We haven't been, and we've seen tons of comments on TikTok. We have a lot over on the other ones, so I know you can't all cross see each other. I do want to give some shout outs real quick to people who did gifts on TikTok. Spencer, thank you. Lucian, I think I said that right. Seed Cell, Seed, Talking Run, Howard the Duck, great movie. Love that movie. Mark, Andrew, Freedom, thank you all. So again, give us some love, give us some likes. If you are not following us, follow the channel that you're on. While Lindsay's doing her thing, yes, I am blatantly stalling. I am not going to lie to you, but I'm going to jump in anyway. And if you're not following us, make sure you follow us. Like I said, we're live every Wednesday from 4 to 5:30. We cover, if it's your first time here, we cover issues that primarily men and boys face, but we also talk about things that women face as we're doing today. So kind of staying in that realm while Lindsay's talking about dealing with what she's got to deal with, which is probably something with her kids. One of the things that I've been doing lately is, trying to, this is personally, get some perspective. Like I said, I was talking with my friend about where relationships are at, and more specifically, how miserable people are in them. One of the things that I hear every single day, now, mind you, 98% of it is from guys, is they're unhappy. And I say to them many of the same things I just said, right? Which is, why are you focused on the negatives? All right, you need to fix them. You need to be aware of them. You need to address them. I'm not saying don't, but what are some of the positives, right? Because I think, generally speaking, we tend to focus on the negatives of our partner, right? And when you do that, as I said a couple minutes ago, you're never going to be happy. And, when I was talking about in reference to that, I was talking about the women, but it happens to the guys. And that's the point I wanted to make is, if you're a guy that's in a bad marriage, all right, what's the reason? What is the cause of it? And is it something you can fix? If it's not, get the F out. Sorry, dude, get out. The mistake guys make is they will stick it out of loyalty and be miserable. And somewhere in the neighborhood of 35% of marriages, men are very unhappy, right? And that's on top of the 55% of divorces. That's as much on you as it is her. And that's why you have to decide, right? I've talked about my second marriage. My second wife was an amazing woman. You will never hear a negative thing about her. But I was not happy in the marriage, and had nothing to do with her. It was me. I had to take accountability for myself, right? We had grown apart. She likes to sit and watch TV, read books. She's a homebody. I like to be out and about doing things. Neither one of us is right or wrong in what we want to do. But it became so far apart, and we couldn't get it back together. So that's why we separated and eventually divorced. But I'll never say anything negative about her. If that's what made her happy, by all means, she should do that, right? But that's why you've got to kind of assess things. And when you start nitpicking every little thing, and again, I'm talking to the guys here, don't be like that. If you are, just don't, because you're never going to be happy yourself. Everything all right?
Yes, that was the lawyer. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I was more worried about the kids.
No, it wasn't the school. It was for those of you who may or may not know, I'm dealing with probate and something legal. So that was the lawyer. Sorry.
There's some weird comments showing up.
Yeah, I saw that. I was
getting blocked. It's like.
But raise your hand if you recognize the Halo theme. That is my my ringer.
By the way, I forgot to mention last week the week before they wanted the Stargate. I want to say it was Steve was looking for the Stargate. You gotta get that back again. All right. I just rambled for 5 minutes. So what else do you got? Go.
Well, what were we talking about before I got?
I don't remember. Go wherever you want. Well, we're talking about like relationships in general, and you know,
Well, you were talking. I think I heard the tail end of men are unhappy, and in many cases, men will stay in an unhappy deadbed relationship because they know what they stand to lose if they try and leave her. Now, I'm not.
and that's a fair point,
That's
Lindsay.
a
I'm
fair
not
point.
disagreeing with that. But the other side of it is you have to make a decision then, because that dead bedroom is going to be that way. It's very, very rare that I've ever heard of a dead bedroom reversing. Very rare. So you have two choices: suck it up, live with it, and stay, or get the F out.
Well, I actually kind of have a theory as one of those reasons why that happens, and it was kind of played. I got so much content out of this one post from Facebook because I mean, oh my god, that it was just the gift that keeps on giving. But one of the reasons why this happens, and I'm making this the subject of what a video that I find script I'm working on now, is that so many women become mothers and they stop being wives.
Very common.
So they center. So I've been hearing all this word about decenter your husbands, and
Because that's going to work.
well, it comes from an actual, like, for people who have PTSD and have like coming out of like abusive household, arrangements, where they had a truly narcissistic or controlling spouse or parent or whatever. You decenter the person, your abuser, because that was how you survived. But it's been corrupted and stolen and bastardized by a whole bunch of women on the internet, just like every therapy speech. Weaponized incompetence actually is a real thing, but it's been broadened to the point that it doesn't mean what the dictionary says it means anymore. And so you have these women sitting there, well, I'm going to stop basically reciprocating a relationship stuff with my husband. I'm like, okay, but are you going to stop wanting him to do the same thing? Because the examples these women are giving, it's like, well, when I'm at the store, I'm gonna stop buying him his snacks. Why? When he's at the store, he buys you your snacks. Like, that's basic, reciprocity inside a relationship. That's not centering him. You know what would behoove a lot of y'all? If you would decenter your damn kids, because the kids don't run the household. The relationship between the parents is the reason there is a household. You cannot put your husband on the back burner for 18 years and expect him to still be there when the kids are grown. You ignore him enough, but they still expect men, their husbands, they still expect them to continue being husbands and fathers while they're only being mothers. And then women make the egregious sin of, because they have centered their entire personality around being a mother, they start to mother their husband. And then they sit there and say, well, I need to mother him. No, bitch, you don't. And trust me, he doesn't want you to. You are treating him like a child. You have infantilized him. And then you wonder why he resents you. It's not because he needs you to do that. It's because you cannot divorce yourself from being a mother and a wife. You have thrown your lot in with being only a mother, and now you are mothering everyone, including your friends and your husband. And they're like, well, he wasn't like this before I married him, or he wasn't like this before we had kids, but then we had kids. Doesn't that just literally explain what I just said?
What might be the reason he does? But they can't make that leap, right? They can make leaps of logic Superman can't make, but they'll make that leap. And
well, yeah, they can Evel Knievel leap over the freaking Grand Canyon, but you ask them to take a small leap in logic, like a little flea-sized leap, and they can't do it.
And again, that, when I keep circling back to this because I think it's so important. They're going to end up miserable that way, right? What you call decentering, I call being petty and childish and immature, from the group that claims they're the mature ones emotionally. They stopped maturing at about 2 years old because they're like petulant little toddlers throwing a fit on the floor because they didn't get their candy bar. They never grow out of that.
I actually responded to one lady in my comments. It was like, oh my goodness, your daddy never told you no, did he? Assuming you had one. This comment section is not the place for you, sweetheart. She didn't like that.
But when again, when you go down that road, like decentering, let's say, what is the end game that you think you're going to have? Because again, this goes back to women think they know better than men how men think, feel, and emote. And they're 100% wrong 100% of the time. Shaming men is never going to work. Ever, ladies. There is zero chance that's going to work. And yet y'all do it on TikTok, social media daily, right? Doing something like being petty, he's going to look at you and go, okay, two can play that game, right? Men don't want to get in a competition over it. The other thing they'll do is they'll just say, fine, I'll shut down. And that's not healthy for the men. I'll be the first to tell you that, but I've done it. I totally get it, right? Because you don't want to deal with it because there's no winning in that scenario. If you're going to the store and he wants, I don't know, peanuts, or he likes them and you refuse to buy them for him, or I did see a video. I'm not going to wash my husband's socks anymore because he won't pick them up on the floor, off the floor. Okay, what do you think is going to happen in the long run? Nothing. He's going to resent you. You're going to resent him. The whole marriage is doomed because you had a problem picking up two socks off the floor and having to put them in the hamper. Oh, well, you poor thing.
Well, isn't it also that women choose to focus on the negative in their partner and none of the negative in themselves?
Oh, absolutely. Well, they don't think there is any negative. They're all perfect wives.
Well, yeah, because for me, an example, and Sarah Eaton and a whole bunch of other women, we hold up a mirror and we're like, look, mirrors don't lie, and you're lucky they don't laugh either. So just look at it. And they won't. They'll look anywhere but actually
they'll attack you for doing that.
At the mirror. And be like, look, mirror, mirror on the wall. It was you after all. But I'm sure there's plenty of habits. Like I have habits that Mr. Squirrely is not particularly fond of.
And I can imagine what they are because I've been around you enough.
And I mean, so
he's tough. I mean, and I have it, so I know.
I mean, so you have to take the good with the bad. And so because no one's perfect, but the problem that these women have, and the whole, my post again is back to being about perception, but the perception is skewing relationship because women are so convinced that they're perfect and they do no wrong and they have, job is so hard. And then when you try to show them that, no, actually it's not, it's a lot more equal than you think it is, or maybe it's even skewed, but not in your favor, they fight you on it because they would rather live with their wrong perception than face the fact that they might be part of the problem because accountability is kryptonite.
Well, yeah. I mean, when I talk to guys that are going through divorce, when you're first going through it and everything's raw and you're hurting, you're angry and all that, one of the things I try and talk with the guys about is for them, it's not to get the wife, but it's, you need to take a step back and see where you fucked up, dude, right? Because you're never going to heal ever if you don't assess and figure out where you screwed up. And trust me, you screwed up, okay? We all do. I've long said that divorce is not exactly 50-50, but damn close to it. Are there exceptions to it? Yes, there are. But I'm talking in general, the majority of them, the overwhelming majority of them, both parties are pretty much equally at fault. Might be different ways. And I'm not talking about abuse or adultery here, okay? But even adultery, I would argue, there's a mix of blame. Maybe not 50-50, right? Because I have zero tolerance for adultery. But what caused that person, that you might have done something wrong. Might have been nothing. I don't know. But you need to assess that. This is what I talk with the guys about is you need to take a step back and assess what it is. If she cheated on you, I'm not defending her in any way, shape, or form, but what could you have done better that maybe might not have caused her to do that, right? That's not putting the person down, and it's not giving her any clearance or anything. It's you assessing it so the next relationship you're in, you don't run into the same problem. Because one thing guys tend to do is they don't reflect on this stuff and they get into another bad relationship like that, right? And I'm speaking from experience, okay? That's how I know. And it was when I finally took a step back. All right, here's where I keep fucking up, right? Here's what I'm doing right. Here's what I'm doing wrong. This is what I got to change. Everything changed for me, right? And I think when I talk to men, and we got to remember, most of the time they're in really rough shape, right? Because they're coming to me because their wife walked out on them or whatever. But when I talk to them and they start doing that, that's when they start healing. And I'm not saying it happens overnight because it doesn't. But when you start doing that, you start the process, and eventually you'll get there. I think women, on the other hand, never do that. It is rare I hear a woman take accountability post-divorce. Rare.
Well,
and I'll say to them, Lindsay, I will say to them, what are you to blame for? Nothing.
Well, I recently did another post where I was talking about panda bears, and
yeah, you stole my term, I noticed, but I love that post.
I was talking about all of the male feminists or the men who create content solely for women, and basically the male pick-me's, and the idea that if he tells you that he's talking to women and he's a therapist and he's never holding you accountable, then he doesn't actually care about you. He thinks you're stupid.
He's a failure as a therapist then.
Well, he also thinks you're stupid because here's the thing. If you care about this, my whole thing is I respect the hell out of women. I think we are strong, intelligent, autonomous humans. And as a result of that, we deserve and can stand to be told what we want or not told what we need to hear, not what we want to hear. And yeah, it might make us uncomfortable. In fact, I hope it does, because uncomfortableness is how you change. If you're going to change, change is uncomfortable. Being sedentary or complacent, you're comfortable. Change only really happens like if you're working out. If your workouts don't hurt or you don't break a sweat, you're not going to get the results that you want. Nothing's going to change. And that's true with life as well. So I hope I make you uncomfortable. I'm not trying to be mean. There's a difference between making someone uncomfortable and being cruel. But I'm going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. But women these days, they are so angry that I won't tell them what they want to hear, that they have confused honesty with, oh, you just have internalized misogyny. No, I just think you're not stupid and don't deserve to be coddled.
Treating you like an adult.
I'm treating you like an adult.
Oh my God, how dare you? So we got about 20 minutes left. I'm just going to say, show us some love. I've got to sign up on TikTok. I want to give quick shout outs for Lawan for all the roses. Thank you. Raving Ray, that was really cool. Star Map Polaris. I think I got everybody else. There was a comment I wanted to ask you about, Lindsay, and now I can't freaking find it because TikTok jumped ahead about 15 screens on me. So I'm going to let you talk so I can stall and see if I can find it.
All right, so we're going back to my stupid pie graph, which everyone seemed to completely mess up.
You want that back up? I can put it back up if you want.
No, we'll just talk, because I mean, like, the pie graph was literally just a very, very, very simple visual aid to explain that how so many women, and it is mostly women, although I did run into one guy, though. I ran into one guy who tried to do the opposite of what women were doing. He was trying to downplay domestic labor, which ironically, the people who were either flip-flopping on, the people that were saying that men don't care or men don't appreciate what women do domestically were all women. All of the men in my comment section were praising their wives and mothers to high heaven for what they were doing, just saying that it's not the same as backbreaking labor, which I agree with. So the women were saying, oh, men are thinking that we don't, they think that we don't do anything. And I'm like, but they're not the ones saying you don't do anything. Other women are saying that men say that they don't do anything. But there was one guy, and I'm not even convinced that he actually was a guy and wasn't like, a woman in disguise, was sitting there saying, well, it's taking you 20 hours a week to run a household. And I'm like, again, dude, they're just variables. Switch them out for whatever holes. He goes, well, it only takes me an hour. A week? Really?
Well, if you're a single guy, I could see it.
Well, if even then he's like talking about, he's like, because I was like, overselling the labor is almost as bad as underselling the labor, because again, you can't count, when the dishwasher's whatever. But if you do, he said, well, I do like a load of dishes, every day. I was like, okay, so 5 minutes to load, 5 minutes to unload. That's 10 minutes a day times 7 days a week. So you've already used 70 minutes, which is over your hour, and you do nothing else. Like, I'm not saying.
No, I get what you're saying, but I can actually defend the hour. Because I'll tell you, when I was single, I used one plate, one knife, one fork, one spoon, and they were washed as soon as I was done with them. So it literally took 3 minutes.
And and if that was your,
but that's an odd situation. That's not running a household. That's living as a single bachelor. That's not running a household. That's totally different from what you're talking about. So that's my point with all that.
And I mean, when I was single and I was living in my own apartment, it probably took me, depending on what I was doing, if it was laundry day or not, it probably took me between 2 and 3 hours every day, because I would cook for myself. I would then wash the dishes for myself, because I didn't like using my dishwasher. It didn't work in my apartment complex, so I had to hand wash it all. But again, it also depends, and that's not necessarily of continuous labor.
It never is.
It never is. So like, but the whole point, everyone kept getting stuck up on the variables or the math or whatever. I'm like, guys, it's a logic puzzle. All I'm saying is that women need to acknowledge what men do. There's that word again. Do.
Let me put it back up, Lindsay, because I think, because we've had people that have joined it since the beginning or just after we joined. So this is what Lindsay's referring to here. So go ahead, give a brief overview on it, because we got about 15 minutes left.
So again, this is not saying that we should be focusing on the left-hand pie. I took the total hours needed to run a household and just plugged in a random number. I said 80. I said it takes 60 hours of paid labor and 20 hours of domestic labor in order to run a household. I said what is actually 50-50 split down the middle would look like the left-handed pie, and the right-handed pie is what typically ends up being the more accurate pie is what is recommend in-house. But when you look at the total hours, you see that he's doing more and she's doing less, which is the whole point of the post, because the post was about perception. The post was about how women perceive that men do shit and they're doing all of the work. And I'm like, no, when you look at the actual time use hours, men are actually more often than not doing a little bit more than women. And we have the research to back this. We have the research from Pew Research Center found out that when you aggregate everything all together, men and women do about the same amount. In fact, men typically do a little bit more, 54 hours to women's 53 hours. And then you also have the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and you also have the Department of Labor that talks about, the work, balance and whatnot, how many women work part-time versus full-time versus men in the same thing. So when you look at all the variables, it turns out that men and women are doing about the same over a population-wide sample. But yet in the comment section, everyone was using anecdotes, and it was all from their personal perspective of, well, I'm doing everything and he never helps. And you are the reason why I have this post. Because have you actually done the math? Because I'm betting you haven't. I'm not saying that you should strive for straight 50-50. I'm not saying that. I am saying that what you think is happening and what is actually happening are not the same thing. And wouldn't you know it, most of the women missed the point, or they refused to engage in the point because that would require them to take this horrible thing called accountability. They might have to actually admit, oh, I've been mad at him for something that isn't his fault. He might actually be doing more than I thought he was. I might be wrong.
So just a couple of things I want to note, because, some people were trying to become guests on the show. We don't accept guests on the show. It's not that we're afraid of you, Ace. I'm sorry, buddy. I had to mute him because he was just being a troll. I don't tolerate that kind of crap. It's not that we're afraid of you, dude. So just chill out. And Steve, or Mr. Brass said, Steve, Dan is very old. Yes, he is. Thank you.
The word
He's
is
joking, I know that, but you know, I mean, getting back to it because we only got about 15 minutes left. It's just it's interesting how this whole dynamic has been playing out because it's not helping relationships at all. As I keep saying, it's ending them, right? It's men are done with this stuff. They are so done with it. They're sick and tired of hearing it. And women just cannot grasp that fact. They are so all in on we're going to shame the men into changing the way we want them to. Well, one, we have no obligation to change into anything you want us to be because we don't give a shit, right?
their body, their choice.
What about what we want to be, right? And if you don't like who we are, why are you with us? Go be strong and independent, you know, go be a boss bitch. You don't need us, fine. We're good with that. The problem is when they see that, then they lose their minds and go, where did all the good men go? Well,
Why don't you want me? Because you're insufferable.
Yeah. But you know, we're seeing it play out throughout society though, right? It's, you know, 55-ish% of all marriages end in divorce. 30 to 35% of the ones that don't are miserable, one party or the other, usually both, right? When you look at it, do the math, you got a 10 to 15% chance of having a good marriage. And when women don't look at that, they really don't. Men do. They do the ROI on that. And they're like, 10% chance, why would I bother, right? And by the way, we're not even counting relationships where you didn't get married, that breakup and all that, or those that are miserable. When you have a less than 10% chance of success, why would you get married? And the problem with all that is where I'm going with it is it's affecting society. I mean, I was reading again on the birth rates and how they are plummeting. We are below sustainability right now in the US. Korea's like ridiculously. Korea's not even at 1 now. All right. So the average accepted number is 2.1 children being born per generation, blah, 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 right? The US is now at 1.6. I think South Korea is at like 0.7. Japan is not much better than South Korea. That is not sustainable. And it's going to create huge issues. Where you're going to see it most of all, and this is what the thing I was reading on. It's very interesting because I'm a boomer. I'm one of them. Yes, I know. Too bad, so sad. I work my ass off. I have money. You're not getting any. I don't give a shit. Okay. But the generations behind us, yours in particular, Lindsay, they're going to be the first one where it really shows up, right? Because your generation has many less kids than mine did, right? Mm-hmm. The generation behind you, everything's indicating they're going to have even less than you do. Well, here's the reality of life. When you get older, you need help. There ain't going to be anybody to help you. And this is what's happening in Japan right now. They revere the elderly as opposed to here where y'all hate those of us, right? They revere them. They don't have the ability to take care of them right now. What I won't be around for it, but in 30, 40, 50 years, all these women who are shunning motherhood, they're not going to have anybody take care of them. Oh, my friends will be there. No, they won't. I hate to break it to you. No, they won't. You know, this is going to be some negative that so many people don't see that is coming. And it's, you look at things like nursing homes now, they cannot staff. They cannot get enough staff. So where are all these people going to be that need help? Where are they going to go? Because there's not enough people anymore. That's what we're talking about. And it all goes back to what you're bringing up with your thing. If we're going to be fighting over petty little shit, like, well, I did 2 hours of housework than he did, or vice versa. Child, please, just get over it already. It's so like Making My Pets on TikTok just said people that live together without getting married had better relationships. No, they don't. No, not statistically. It's about the same, actually. It's not better. It's not worse. It's not better. It just is different. No, Ace, you're not going to get to come on. Jesus Christ. Go away, little troll. Go away. And it makes me sad with all of this, because I guess I'm kind of in that kind of mode lately, because it just, you look at all the political shit that's going on now, and I didn't want to go there. You look at all the divisiveness, you look at the families falling apart. It's just negative, negative, negative 24/7. That is not healthy for us as individuals or as a society. And, some people argue, well, you're part of it because you brought out things. I do bring up things, but my ultimate goal is to wake people up to what's going on, right? If women actually watched what you and I put up as content and actually listened to it and took a step back and go, geez, I'm guilty of that, and changed, men might come back, but they won't.
I actually had 3 women tell me that I was right after exhaustive.
Did you tape record that?
No, but I did take screenshots. The ones that were actually arguing in good faith, the ones who were actually commenting with, of course, the bias perception, the cultural perception of, women do all of this and men don't do anything. One woman asked me for all the research, and I gave her all of the research, all like 17 something studies that all backs up what I'm saying. And it took her 3 days to get back to me because she went and actually read them. And she comes back and she goes, I see your point. I might have to show this to my husband. But she said it in a way that was like positive, like actually admitted that
you created communication between.
I created communication.
Hello, that's no goal.
And well, that's another problem, is that women are we can have a whole podcast on this, but women have deluded themselves in thinking that they're wonderful at communication. No, we suck at it.
They're awful at it.
We are awful at it.
Beyond awful.
We think that because we talk more, what we're talking at someone. You have to communicate in a way that the other person can receive. Me, for example, and I'm not saying this to toot my own horn, but sometimes I severely overestimate the intelligence of the people I deal with. It does me no good to talk over their heads like when they're 10 feet underwater. I have to tailor my argument to my audience. Otherwise, I'm not an effective communicator. And I got into this argument with someone in the comment section because they were talking about their boyfriend doesn't do enough. I said, by all means, draw a picture for him, or, whatever this. And she goes, I'm not his mother. I shouldn't have to do it. Well, then you don't want an actual solution, because
the whole he should just know argument.
He should just know. And I'm like,
that's going to help.
I'm like, look, I'm autistic I'm autistic. So sometimes I have to be shown like the whole chessboard, because all I can see is all I can see is out my little window, right? All I can see is out my little window, and I can't see the whole chessboard. So sometimes I need a bird's eye view perception recalibration. And once I can see the whole board, I go, oh, yes, I understand where I went wrong. I see it now. I need to be able to put it into perspective. And if you're not willing to do that, if you're not willing to communicate in a way that your partner can receive, then you are not nearly the good communicator that you think you are. So many women talk at someone and they think that that's effective communication. No, it's not. You can scream in Swahili at someone all you want, but if they don't speak Swahili back, then you're not communicating, because communication is a two-way street. And again, that was another whole purpose of the damn pie chart, is that I'm trying to communicate a very simple idea, and I severely either underestimate or overestimated the intelligence of the people on the internet, which that was my own fault. But more than that, these people were willing to be willfully ignorant rather than accept the fact that women are not nearly as blameless as they like to say they are. And I talk to women all the time. I talk at women, to women. I try to talk to women, and I try to engage my content so that I'm not pitting anyone against each other. I'm not Pearl. I do actually offer communications and solutions. But I will call out women when we're the ones who are the bulk of the problem. Look, ladies, I'm going to talk to you like an adult, and I'm going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And I get so many rude comments.
Which shows they can't communicate.
Which shows they can't communicate. If they literally thought that this chart, my little pie graph, was like an indictment, like a personal attack, an indictment on them. And I'm like, that stereotype about how women we think with our ovaries and we react with like our heart and our emotions. You are proving that stereotype correct because you cannot engage with the logic without, having your ovaries go. And it's disheartening. And I'm like, as a woman, I am sitting there thinking to myself, you are not inspiring confidence in my sex at all.
Well, they're dooming it is what they're doing.
Dooming it.
You don't even realize it. So I only got a couple minutes left. So really good conversation today. A couple things that I want to give shouts out on, and one is to you, Lindsay. So she doesn't know I'm doing this. You put a post up last week. I know I texted you about it, but I want people to go look at that post, which was, I think it was National Hug Day or something like that.
National Hugging Day, yes.
It's on Facebook, right?
Yes.
So Squirrel Girl on Facebook.
Squirrel Girl.
Go, and I shared it on my Facebook also. I think that was your best post ever. Speaking to women specifically, right? Talking about how important it is for wives, girlfriends, whatever you want to call them, to just go up and hug their man for no reason. That's what we need more of. And that's why you have a happy, healthy relationship, right? Because I know you do that stuff because I've seen it. But I'm joking, but it's that one hit home for me. In fact, I said it to my wife too, right? I'm like, this is the best thing she's ever written. Lori follows you, but it was so meaningful to guys. And the point I want to make with all that is go read it yourselves, guys, and then share it with the woman in your life. No, don't make any accusations. Don't put it negative at all. Just share it with them and say, check this out. It really hit home for me, or something like that, right? Or like, you can even phrase it the way I did. This is the best thing Lindsay's ever written. And I truly believe that, because I think that would do more to fix relationships than anything else. There's no amount of therapy that can replace what you said in that thing, in my opinion. It was that good. And she's sitting there going, shut up, Dan. I can tell by the way her face is going, but because I'm embarrassing her because she's getting a little red too. But honestly, it was far better than anything I've ever written too. And I applaud you, Lindsay, for writing that. For one, having the courage, but two, for speaking it and saying it in a way that can resonate with anyone. So guys, go check that out. It's just on your Facebook, right?
Just on my Facebook page. Although I have a video that I'm working on because of that, because that's the number one complaint I hear from men is that they don't feel emotionally close to their wives anymore. And I actually hear the same complaint from women.
Yes, exactly the point.
And I'm sitting there thinking, well, when was the last time you showed physical affection? And all the women always jump to sex. And I'm like, no, men feel emotional intimacy through physical touch. It doesn't have to be sex, although that is part of it. But just hugging him, just holding his hand, just touching him, just somehow. Women are cerebral. We feel emotional closeness when we stare into your eyes or have long conversations. Men are supplying that to us. In fact, we get downright mean when they stop. But women will stop showing physical affection, even a simple hug to their male partner, and then they wonder why he checked out of the relationship. Because, girl, you checked out first.
You would blow most men away if their wife, girlfriend, whatever, walked up and just hugged them for no reason. I'll tell you right now. I can speak on behalf of a shit ton of men. Guaranteed it will blow them away. They won't even know what to do. They'll freeze up. I'm telling you right now, ladies, if you're listening, the few that are, go do it.
We haven't chased it.
Because they will literally freeze up because they get it so rarely. You may think you show your love. Most women don't. And how do I know that? Because guys tell me that. Because I'll ask them, when was the last time your wife hugged you? I don't know. When was the last time she complimented you? That one they'll tell you down to the day, the time, what they had for breakfast that morning, right? What the weather was for the 3 days around it, because they remember it because it's so rare. So, all right, we do have to wrap things up. So Squirrely Girl on Facebook.
On Facebook.
And Squirrely Girl 1988 on TikTok.
And I think it's Squirrel Girl 1988 on YouTube as well.
Okay, so that's how you find her. You can find me if you're watching the channels. A lot of them, Men Need to Be Heard. I do have a second YouTube channel now, which is Men Need to Be Heard 2, TOO, which is totally different than my other one. The other one's first, my main, I'll call it, is about issues. The other one, and I am getting so much positive feedback, it's making me feel good, is more about working with men and teaching them and giving them tips and tricks and sharing things that I've gone through and all that. It's really designed to make your lives a little bit better. You know, you can pick little bits and pieces out of the videos. I did start as a recommendation from multiple followers, a little thing I call the Sunday sermon, where I'm actually taking things that men have emailed to me or talked to me about with their permission, and going into in-depth answering, like one I have coming up. It's going to be next week's, I think, possibly the week after. I had a guy ask me, I'm trying to raise my daughters. How do I teach them not to be narcissistic? I won't say it the way he said it. How do I teach them to be good wives in the road? That's the way I'll say it. So I'm working on that one too. And if you have questions like that, feel free to email me. All right. On that note, I think we should go ahead and wrap it up. So Lindsay, take it away.
Bye, guys. We'll see y'all next week.